Heyo, we're playing The Letter. I am in a weird mindset for this because I've been playing Kingdom Hearts nonstop for like maybe 5 hours now. But I was like, I have the time, let's record a thing. So we're playing as Becca now, we're doing the thing, blah, 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 you know. Not over a trivial matter, or even when things are tough.
Okay, you can go to her. I'll just show you my drawing next time.
Thank you. Remind me to buy you a huge glass of parfait, all right?
No, I'll get a stomachache. Takako says so. A small one is okay.
I'll remember that. Say hi to your friend for me.
I will. I'm sure she'd love to meet you too. See you, Miss Pink.
I'll see you later, Kylie.
London Bridge is falling down,
She doesn't look back or wait
falling down,
for any sort of goodbye from me.
London
With the
Bridge
song and
is
an extra
falling
spring in her
down,
step, she bounds across the corridor with as much spirit as a child her age can have. As if the conversation has never taken any downhill turn for her at all. As if there isn't a single thing to worry about in the world. Not long after, she disappears behind a door, leaving behind strains of an old familiar rhyme lingering in the air. Carefree. Unbidden. Unbidden. Untroubled moments like this. I envy her. As long as I resume my hurried pace, a tiny whisper at the back of my mind wishes the same can be said for myself and my own worries. Luxbourne may be a small city, but it's no stranger to the hellish rush hour. But surprisingly, getting out of the city proves more of a breeze than a hassle. A relief, considering how none of my calls beep beep to Isabella have made it through. Either the reception's really bad over there, or she's ignoring them on purpose. Both does nothing to ease the disquiet in me. The rest of my drive passes without much incident as soon as I'm out of the busy streets. In less than 30 minutes, the mansion looms ahead of me. For all the fuss Isabella made about the house, it remains a thing of beauty. Unlike Luxbourne, the estate is nearby Ansem village, stand and is in complete opposite. I don't think I read that right at all. Living and breathing the songs of the old whispers of a once booming haven lingering in the air. Contemporary Can we stop with big words? Becca, I know you're smart, but please, my brain is too tired for these words. Contemporary conveniences aside, it's a place I'm glad modernization hasn't wholly touched.
It's just a shame the locals know more of the silly hearsay than the history itself. If I could only knock some sense into these people!
Sadly, complaining is all I can afford to do. As much as I want to give them a piece of my mind, it isn't why I'm here. I don't think these rich types will appreciate getting a lecture from me either. I have as much business with them as they have with me. With a heavy sigh, I give myself one last second to take in the scenery before heading up the main entrance. Most of the guests have already headed out, though some still linger. It's mainly just to take photos of the house's facade or its various rooms. Facade. That's a weird way to describe it. I pause for a moment, scanning the small crowd gathered at the foyer, looking for any sign of familiar ponytail among the sea of hats and heads.
No sign of her.
The two genders, hats and heads. No sign of the other staff or Miss Cooper either. I can certainly look for Isabel on my own, but in a place this big? I'd be lucky if I didn't end up lost or find her before we need to meet Zachary and Ash tonight. Sighing, I reach for my mobile and redial her number, the gesture familiar now after so many attempts earlier. She doesn't answer. I can finally try contacting Miss Cooper. I just hope the network reception will cooperate this time. This side of the country has never been popular with tech-savvy, after all. To my relief, it only takes 3 unsuccessful tries. At the 4th one, right as I'm about to switch to another intercept message, the line finally rings. Silence follows while I wait for her to pick up, the ringing far too long for my taste. By now, most of the visitors have already cleared out. All I have for company are the faint murmurs and the eerie calmness left in their wake. A sudden hush settles, and it gives way to a noise louder than they ever meant to be. Doors creaking and slamming shut in distant part of the mansion, floorboards groaning under the sheer weight of the house's history. In the now empty halls, they all reverberate with a special clarity against the walls. Like this, those old stories seem to almost have a ring to truth in it. I don't get to stray far into the ugly line of thought, however. Not a second later, a click sounds from the other end.
Hello? Isabella? Miss Cooper called earlier and...
This is not surprising. Like, did we all see this coming? I saw it coming.
Isabella? Belle? Are you alright?
Without any warning, the call gets cut off. Did Isabella leave by now? Did she leave with Ash? Busy notes blare sharply against the heavy silence, but above the noise cutting through the mute air remains the faint cries of a woman from beyond the foyer. Oh, I can hear it. I was gonna say, I can't decide between saying foyer or foyer, so excuse my switching between the two. My hands falls to my sides as I cast a wary look around, waiting for someone to come running. Surely I can't be the only one hearing this. There must still be some stuff hanging around, checking their things out. But no one does. Not even when her sobs turn more frantic and anguished.
Excuse me? Hello? Who's there? Isabella? Isabella? Is that you?
No answer. Growing anxious, I amble over to where her cries come from, each step slow and cautious towards the door on the other end of the room. While I'm far from someone who readily gives into fear of stories lacking factual basis, the vague, restless feeling I had earlier immediately returns to me. And despite myself, my heart begins to race and my breathing quickens.
Belle? Belle, it's me. Miss Cooper called. Is everything okay?
Is she just a ghost now? Abruptly, all of it stops. My whole body tenses, my mouth dragging in ragged breath, ears straining for any other sound yet to come from the other side. But nothing follows. Instead, the quiet only lends itself to a heavy tension in the air, as if every small movement will disturb the fragile stillness hanging in the room. I wait for another second. Then, with caution, I reach for the knob. My fingers barely graze the brass handle when a hand falls off my shoulder.
Excuse me.
On my shoulder.
Ma'am?
Ooh. I was like, girl, why is there a hand just sitting on your shoulder? That's not natural. Oh, damn. Yeah, girl, get it. She looks like she's like pumping her fist like in a hardcore rock motion. I don't know if that's the description I was looking for, but you know, when it's like a heavy metal song or something.
I am so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you.
No, it's a...
Still reeling, my gaze shifts back to the door, as if any second now the cries will start again, or whoever inside will burst out of the room. But I don't get to dwell on these. The woman's worried voice breaks through the haze in my mind again, oddly soothing in the thick of the unease. Even if the concerned look comes from a total stranger, finally being in the company of someone else is somehow comforting.
Ma'am? Are you okay?
Oh, no, I'm fine. This is probably just some cold.
Do you need to sit down?
No need. I'm actually looking for a friend.
I wave the mobile in front of her, like the gesture alone explains everything. Vaguely, I note my tight grip on it has quickly slipped into my pockets before she notices. She doesn't need to know.
Well, I'm not really sure if your friend would still be here. We're actually about to close the open house in a few minutes, ma'am.
No worries. She's not a guest here. She works for Briar Realty. Miss Cooper called me earlier. In fact, I'm also looking for her.
Recognition flashes in her eyes, and her worried expression dissolves into a smile at once. It's all I need to know that I don't have to look elsewhere or venture deeper into the mansion on my own. In some way, I'm not too keen on the letter right now. On the ladder. Ooh, the letter.
Oh, Miss Rebecca Gales, is it?
Yes. Sorry if I'm a bit late.
It's not a problem. I was busy with the open house and a few clients anyway. It's actually a good thing you came when you did. Let's see. Isabella should be here somewhere. I told her to stay put earlier. That girl never listens.
Rose? Rosie? May I have a minute? There's just this one little thing before we go.
Miss Cooper's head immediately snaps up at the voice. In a blink, a different kind of smile spreads on her face. A smile still friendly, even, but the kind given mainly for the sake of pleasing other people rather than making friends.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be there in a few.
It's an impressive thing, to say the least. The level of professionalism. I suppose working years in this kind of business trains you enough to be able to pull that off without batting an eye. It certainly didn't seem to have rubbed off on Isabella, though.
Sorry, could you give me a second? I have to take care of this.
Don't worry about it. I understand. can wait a few more minutes. Clients, right?
You won't hear anything from me. Priorities, you know? But if you want, you can stay at the parlor in the meantime. I think we have a few refreshments left.
No, thank you. I'm going out with a few friends after this. Isabella's supposed to join us too. But that depends on how she's doing, of course.
All right, this won't be long, I promise.
She throws me an apologetic look before sauntering over the small group gathered at the entrance. A couple or siblings? Why? Like, Luke's glowing, right? Like, you see that? He's turning into a ghost now too. I should say glowing. It's more like, is there a term for, like, when darkness glows? Isn't that just called a light? Oof. A couple or siblings and another woman, probably their secretary. Either way, they look no different from the other guests. Are you sure? He's smoking. There's something coming off of Luke right now. All three of them primly dressed, albeit in a manner significantly simpler than the others. No frills, no extravagance of any form. But the gestures and movements alone speak volumes of their grained lifestyle. In their presence, I do what I can to appear inconspicuous on my side of the foyer. Maybe accepting Miss Cooper's offer would have been a much better choice than standing awkwardly around and gaping at them. All while also attempting my best not to listen in on their conversation. Although that one proves to be more difficult with how enthusiastic the blonde woman is. Her voice easily echoes through the walls with only the five of us here. Pretty soon, I find myself being drawn into their talk without meaning to.
Tomorrow? First thing in the morning?
First thing in the morning, ma'am.
The mundane talk isn't what catches my attention, however.
Very well. We'll have our lawyers prepare everything as soon as possible. Let's make this whole thing easier for everyone, shall we? Just let me know if there's anything you need from me. You know how to contact me, yes?
Got your mobile number saved here already.
Good. It's just a matter of time then.
It's a brief moment. A fleeting shift in my eye.
Monday for us, Marianne.
As long as you're positive, we won't be having any problems by that time. You can count on my team.
You worry too much. Let me handle those things. Do be thrilled, though. I imagine it's not every day you get projects like this, hmm?
And the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. Oh, okay, so, like, we're addressing it now, that he smells really bad, or that he's, like, smoking too much. He ripped his fat vape.
Oh, I'm certain Mint's ecstatic, Buttercup.
What is up with you?
Aren't you, Marianne? You know, we could all celebrate this with a few drinks. Why don't we? In fact, there's this really excellent Irish pub I visited a few days ago.
Looming. Hovering over his shoulders. Drawn to him like a moth to a flame. A dark blur. No. A shadow.
I think I'll pass on that,
Hello?
sir. I have more important matters to attend to.
Hello? I can't... Marianne, you have to speak up. I can't hear you over... It sounds like you covering your mouth. Can you please speak up just a little bit?
You heard her, love. She's
Oh, okay.
busy.
Okay, everyone's just... Okay. Everyone's just recording with old-timey microphones. It's okay.
Such a shame. You never let me do anything fun.
What the fuck is happening? But as I try to make sense of it, a heavy feeling descends over my whole body. It happens without warning, forcing me to close my eyes. The sensation creeps to every part of me, crawling under my skin and draining me little by little of any strength. Before I know it, my hands are gripping at the nearby door for support. The sudden nausea drowns out their voices and what little sound there is, all except for the whispers and laughters. God damn it, Luke! You can't just vape in a house like this. You're gonna get people sick. Jesus. Judging, mocking, taunting, muffled, inaudible words bearing down on me like a death sentence. They wrap around my neck and limbs, binds tightening with every syllable, every utterance. And with each draw of breath I take, they drag me down slowly, almost painfully, into a bottomless abyss. On, and on, and on, till the sound turns into mere distant echoes, until suddenly it shatters.
Well, what are we waiting for? Are we done here?
Oh, thank God he put his vape away. His voice rips through the fog like a sharp blade, and my eyes snap open. When I look to them again, it's gone.
You can head back to the car first if you want, Luke. I hope that settles everything, Rose. I don't know what Isabel's problem is, but please make sure she doesn't hurt herself. Anyway, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Likewise, ma'am.
No shadows or dark clouds or fat vape rips. Only admissible smiles and cordial handshakes, the usual pleasantries as Miss Cooper leads them out of the mansion like a graceful host. None of the group seems to have noticed it, and even as I force my breathing to calm down, keep my eyes trained on their backs, and wait for something to happen, it doesn't come back. She returns a moment later. Gently, she closes the great doors behind her, but there's a smile on her lips and an extra skip in her step when she walks back to me. Whatever she was discussing with the group had put her in a good mood. Even she appears to not have observed anything odd. Was I just seeing things?
Glad that was over. It's been a long day. I thought for sure we were going to... Hey, are you sure you're doing okay? You look a bit green.
You're one to talk.
It's all good. I'm actually still recovering from a cold. Weather's been crazy lately.
That must be it. I can't get over the fact that, like Rebecca, she saw something. And I know she's like, oh, it's just a cold. I'm fine. It's just a cold. Like, she saw something. And Isabella was like, yo, I saw some shit. And she was just like, oh, instead of being like, oh man, like, maybe it's the same thing I saw. She was like, nah, Isabella's just being fucking weird. Like, dude, come on. The weather, the stupid cold, and the friendly warnings I'm too stubborn to listen to. As much as I hate to admit it, Isabella's right. I was, and I still am, a little feverish when she visited me at school this morning. The medicine helped, of course, but only some. Although it's not like I can't function. I did get better after lunch, and I was able to go through with my schedule like usual. Now I'm not so sure. However, I can't keep acting like I've seen some sort of apparition. When it's anything but, dude, you saw a ghost. I simply must have listened to too many times to Isabella last week. I simply must have listened to too many times to, Isabella last week. My fever-muddled mind has started to confuse things. If it doesn't let up, I just need another visit to the doctor, plain and simple. Though I do hope it won't get worse. We did promise to watch Zachary's film together.
I know what you mean. I've been complaining to Isabel. It doesn't seem to affect her much, though. Must be because she grew up in the tropics. Anyway, shall we? She's probably hanging out with the rest of the catering staff.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised she's there. She eats like 10 hungry men when she isn't feeling well. Lead the way.
With a simple nod, she gestures for me to follow. I do so without much thought, finally putting everything back in the back of my mind. Okay. Cool, okay, we're just gone. We just left Isabella there. The entire visit took a whole 24 minutes, and my trip to the mansion, as it turns out, is a is a useless endeavor in itself. I knew it. I was like, she's gone. I'm pretty sure Ash picked her up. Isabella's no longer there, left shortly before I arrived. Or at least that's what the few staff who saw her assumed. None of them knew where she went, but I could take a few guesses. There's only a number of places in Luxbourne she frequents, and well, she's never been the complex kind. It doesn't really take a genius to figure it out. Still, it's odd she left on her own. She could have at least waited for Miss Cooper. It would have saved her having to pay the cab's fare twice today.
And right after she was told to stay put! I mean, who does that? Oh, sod off! You don't own the road!
Oh my god, she's gonna kill somebody. In the end, all Miss Cooper could give me were a string of apologies for my trouble, and a request to let her know if I find Isabella. The whole affair didn't last long. I probably spent more time traveling back and forth. Soon enough, I'm weaving my way back downtown Luxbourne, worried sick, and on top of that, maybe a little annoyed. Whether at the unexpected turn of events or at Isabella herself, I'd rather not think about it for now. Now when I'm already running late for Zachary's film. Besides, I'm perfectly sure that's where I'll find her. As one would expect, people are already gathered at the movie house when I get to it. The small avenue where it's located has been closed off from any passing traffic to make sure the avid moviegoers who are sure to crowd the venue. I have to park almost a street away and walk the remaining distance because of it. Looking for them has taken a while in the crowd this big, but I eventually spot them near the entrance. Thanks to Zachary, mostly. I miss Zach. And like I've surmised, Isabella's with them.
I knew it.
Wasting no time, I march over to the little group. Words filled with concern tumble out of my mouth before I can stop myself.
Isabella! Oh, thank goodness!
Becca, you're just in time.
An odd expression crosses her face as I hold it with both hands, but I ignore it in favor of getting a good look at her, forcing her to keep still and fix her gaze at me.
Becca, you're squishing my face.
How are you? Are you all right?
Why wouldn't I be?
There doesn't seem to be any visible injury, nor does she appear to be in pain. Apart from her confused frown at my questions, she looks pretty much like how she would any other day. Even so, you can't really tell these things with her at first glance. The last time she got sick, she never bothered to call anyone, even me, who lives right next door. If I hadn't checked on her then, she probably would have died on her bed with the rest of us, none of the wiser. It's one thing we laugh about now, but moments like these also teaches you something about a person. If anything, it has given me more reason to constantly worry about her. And the moment of familiar name comes up, and I know my concerns right now aren't completely baseless.
Rose called me earlier.
Her expressions swiftly change, and gently as she can, Isabella pushes my hands away. Yet, even before she says anything, I already have a hunch how this whole thing will play out.
Oh, no, everything's good. Rose covered for me at work today.
That's not what I'm talking about. How's your head?
Then and there, the whole conversation goes down as I've imagined. She dodges my hand as I reach for the back of her head, intending to check the said injury myself, even makes a show of hiding behind Zachary just to avoid me. Instantly, what's supposed to be a simple inquiry dissolves into a shameless game of tag. Shouting and chasing like none of us can be bothered to act like full-grown adults like we're supposed to be. Including Ashton. I won't put this past Isabella, but Ash, out of everyone? In fact, if that stupid smirk on his face tells me anything, he finds this whole mess amusing. Oh, for the love of...
Isabella, this isn't a laughing matter.
She did look pale when I saw her.
Wow, thanks a lot, Ashton, you traitor. I'll get you back for this. Just you wait.
Did his voice line cut off there for a second? I don't know if I skipped over it or if it was just, actually chopped in the middle there.
What? I'm just saying it as it is. If you mentioned this earlier, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
There's a moment's pause. My hand's still midair as my attention shifts to Ashton and the words he leaves hanging between the four of us. He doesn't meet my eye. I don't think he's even aware of what he said. But the meaning in each syllable alone is clear. And they echo. They sting. They burn.
I'm sorry. Saw her?
Yeah, they arrived together. Bella looked fine to me then. I don't know.
Of course. Of course. Why else would Isabella leave on her own after being told to stay put, after a little chat about money this morning? Something close to silence falls while I mull over their words, both what's already been said and what's left unspoken. When I do find my voice, it only reeks with nothing but bitter, unpleasant thoughts. Thoughts I quickly stamp out before they surface. Thoughts I hide the best I can in the deepest parts of my mind, locking it away for no one to see.
Oh, that's good. At least she didn't have to travel alone, right? At least. Good.
Yet, try as I might, the green-eyed monster easily rears its ugly head. Like it always does every time his gaze lingers a second longer. Every time he smiles in a manner far too gentle, far too sincere, whenever he thinks no one can see. Every time my mind suggests his words mean more than they should. Every small, little thing. Despite what he says, despite his tone.
Look, you guys.
Oh. Becca! Oh, she has it so bad. That would be... Oh, it's really cute. It's getting me my heart zone, but also, you could do better than Ash. For all I know, it may just be the same kind of fondness born from friendship. Maybe I'm simply overthinking, like he often tells me, or maybe there really is something there. But in his short display of impatience, I know the whole thing is just for show. After all, growing up together with him didn't teach me nothing about him. For whose sake is it this time, though? For him? For Zachary? For her? Or for me? That I can't tell.
If she says she's okay, then there's nothing we can do about it. It's not like we can stop her either. Besides, she's still acting like the same old Isabella to me, if she can still run around like that.
Why are you taking her side?
I'm not. But if she wants to watch Zach's movie with us, I'm not going to stop her. She's probably the one looking forward to it the most.
Ash, that's... You, of all people, should know...
Tell you what, if I notice something amiss with her, I'll take her to the nearest hospital myself. Is that good enough for you?
My mouth opens and snaps shut almost as quickly, forming a thin, hard line instead. I can't respond, not because there's nothing to say. On the contrary, there's so many things I can use to reason against him and get him to agree. But because he speaks with so much certainty, with much reassurance, it feels like there isn't even a choice. All I can give is a long, deep breath and a reluctant nod in the face of it. Before I can get a grip on myself and my own weakness, the mood immediately shifts, and I'm being tackled into a hug.
Thanks, Becca.
It's always been you with him, isn't it?
Did you say something?
Me? Nothing. Don't mind me.
Girl, just tell him how you feel. If you've been friends with him for this long, like, you can definitely talk to him about it. A lie, obviously. What else can it be? Each and every smile, a tiny effort to keep things as they are, or so I tell myself. Little do I know, this is merely a preamble. It starts out quietly, without fanfare, amidst friendly jibes and harmless teasing, with a scrap of paper fluttering harmlessly to the ground. The letter! So, I'm guessing that everyone would have seen the letter, regardless if I showed them or not. I just feel it in my heart zone. One that looks suspiciously like a cheap Halloween prank, no matter how you look at it. And yet, despite how ludicrous it all is, Isabella stubbornly insists, as if our whole life depends on acknowledging the truth in her story. Does she even realize how absurd she sounds right now? Crivens. Even my students wouldn't fall for this.
Isabella, aren't you taking this a bit too far?
She doesn't give me the time to regret nor think over my choice of words. From there, it escalates, grows into an argument too petty for even our standards as adults. Before we know it, one after another, harsh, scathing words are being spoken.
It's not a joke! Will you guys listen to me first? I saw something in the house earlier. It stood right in front of me. If I hadn't gotten away, that thing might have...
Right. And in broad daylight, Isabella. Even someone gullible would find the logic in that screwed up.
There's also no way in hell that this supernatural shit is true.
But it's real! What do you think I saw?
A hallucination? A delusion? Didn't you say you fell down some stairs? So maybe Rebecca's right.
It happened after, when I was trying to get away. I almost got stuck in the same room with that thing. We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
They really should believe her. I know it's like hindsight 2020, but dude, come on. Like, she's clearly scared. Just believe her for like 2 fucking seconds. God damn. Anyway, that's it for today. Hopefully things... I say this every time. I just want stuff to pick up. I want the ghost shit to happen. I want a story. I don't want to go through the same fucking motions every time. Whatever. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And goodbye.